My name is Dr. Olivia Sterling, and at 35, I stood in the conference room of my newly opened medical center, Sterling Care, presenting our innovative treatment programs to the board of directors. After 15 years of medical training, research, and saving every penny, I'd finally created something revolutionary, a facility combining cutting-edge treatments with affordable care. Our integrated approach means patients receive comprehensive treatment regardless of their financial status, I explained, clicking through my presentation. We've already partnered with leading research institutions. The conference room door burst open. My mother, Dr. Victoria Sterling, strode in, followed by my father, both still wearing their white coats from their shifts at Sterling Memorial, the prestigious private hospital my grandfather had founded. "So this is what you've done with your trust fund," my mother interrupted, her voice dripping with contempt. "Turned your back on Sterling Memorial to open this charitable experiment." The board members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone in the medical community knew the Sterlings. 3 generations of elite doctors, owners of the city's most exclusive private hospital, and here was their daughter, the supposed heir to the empire, opening a facility that threatened their entire business model. "Mother, we're in the middle of a board meeting," I said calmly. "Perhaps we could discuss this later." "Discuss what?" she scoffed. "How you've betrayed everything your grandfather built. He wanted you to take over Sterling Memorial, not waste resources on people who can't afford proper medical care." I took a deep breath, remembering the moment that had changed everything. 3 years ago, I'd watched a young woman die in Sterling Memorial's emergency room because she couldn't afford the treatment. My parents had called it unfortunate but necessary business practice. I called it the day I stopped believing in their version of medicine. "Sterling Care provides top-tier medical treatment to everyone," I stated firmly. "That's not waste, that's progress." My father stepped forward, his face red. "Progress? You're undermining decades of Sterling reputation. We built our name on excellence, on exclusivity, on turning away people who need help." I cut in, "On prioritizing profit over patients." "You ungrateful child," my mother hissed. "We gave you everything. The best education, the perfect position at our hospital, a legacy most doctors would kill for, and you throw it all away on this socialist fantasy." The board members watched in stunned silence. Dr. Richardson, our head of research, looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. "Sterling Care will provide world-class medical care to everyone," I repeated, my voice steady. "Our research programs will fail," my mother shouted. "Just like everything else you touch. We wish you were never born. You're a disgrace to the Sterling name." The silence that followed was deafening. I could hear the hum of medical equipment through the walls, the distant sound of helicopters landing at our emergency helipad, the most advanced in the city. I turned to the board members. "I apologize for this interruption. As I was saying, our research partnerships, don't you dare ignore us," my father growled. "We'll make sure every hospital in the network knows about this betrayal. No one will work with you." I clicked to the next slide, displaying our already secured partnerships with 3 major research institutions. Actually, they already are working with us. Sterling Care's innovative treatment protocols have attracted top talent from across the country. My mother's face contorted with rage. She grabbed my presentation remote, hurling it against the wall. "You'll regret this. When this place fails, don't come crawling back to Sterling Memorial." As they stormed out, I turned back to the board. "Now about our emergency response protocols." That evening, after the board members had left, all voting unanimously to support our initiatives, I stood in the hospital's rooftop garden. Dr. Richardson joined me, holding 2 cups of coffee. "That was quite a show," he said, handing me a cup. "You know they'll try to sabotage us." I nodded, watching the sunset over the city. "They can try, but we have something they don't." "What's that?" "The future." I gestured to the hospital below us. "Medicine shouldn't be a privilege for the wealthy. It should be a right for everyone, and we're going to prove it works." What I didn't know then was how soon that proof would come, or how desperately my parents would need it. The first month after opening was a whirlwind. Sterling Care quickly gained a reputation for its innovative treatments and inclusive care model. Local media praised our revolutionary approach, highlighting cases where our integrated treatment programs saved lives that traditional hospitals had deemed financially unviable. I was reviewing patient files one morning when Dr. Richardson burst into my office. "Olivia, you need to see this." He handed me his tablet, displaying an internal memo from Sterling Memorial. My parents' hospital was implementing new competitive measures, slashing their already limited charitable care program, and pressuring insurance companies to exclude Sterling Care from their networks. "They're trying to starve us out," Dr. Richardson said grimly. Before I could respond, my assistant Sarah appeared at the door. "Dr. Sterling, there's something else. Your parents are giving a press conference." On the local news, my mother stood at a podium, her expression severe. "While some facilities prioritize quantity over quality, Sterling Memorial maintains its commitment to excellence. We cannot compromise our standards to compete with experimental care models." The camera cut to my father. "Patients deserve proven treatments, not untested protocols. We urge the medical community to consider the risks of supporting unproven facilities." They were trying to discredit us without directly naming Sterling Care, a clever legal maneuver, but transparent to anyone in the medical community. That afternoon, I received an unexpected visitor, Dr. Emily Chen, my former mentor from medical school, now head of neurology at Sterling Memorial. "Your mother fired me this morning," she announced, settling into the chair across from my desk. "Apparently I'm too aligned with competitive interests because I praised Sterling Care's stroke treatment protocol at last week's medical conference." I started to apologize, but she waved me off. "Don't. I've wanted to leave for years. Your parents have lost sight of what medicine should be." She leaned forward. "I want to join Sterling Care, and I'm not the only one." Over the next few weeks, a steady stream of Sterling Memorial's best doctors began defecting to our hospital. Each brought valuable expertise, and more importantly, a shared vision of what healthcare could be. The turning point came 6 weeks after our opening. A massive pileup on the interstate overwhelmed local emergency services. Sterling Memorial, with its restricted admission policies, quickly reached capacity. But Sterling Care's more efficient model allowed us to accept dozens more patients. Our emergency room team worked tirelessly through the night. I was assisting with a particularly complex trauma case when Dr. Richardson found me. "Channel 7 is calling it a miracle response," he said, showing me live news coverage of our hospital in action. "The mayor just gave a statement praising our exemplary crisis management." The coverage was overwhelmingly positive, highlighting how our innovative approach had saved lives that might have been lost in a traditional hospital system. Even more significantly, our treatment costs were substantially lower than Sterling Memorial's, while achieving better outcomes. That evening, I received a call from an unexpected source. My grandfather's old friend, Dr. William Morrison, chairman of the state medical board. "Remarkable work today, Olivia," he said. "Your grandfather would have been proud." "Mother and father don't think so," I replied, trying to keep the bitterness from my voice. "Thomas Sterling didn't build Sterling Memorial to be an exclusive club for the wealthy," Dr. Morrison said firmly. "He built it to help people. Somewhere along the way, your parents forgot that. You haven't." He paused, then dropped a bombshell. "The board is reviewing all hospitals' crisis response protocols." Sterling Memorial's performance today raised some concerns. After hanging up, I sat in my office, looking at an old photograph on my wall. My grandfather and me at my medical school graduation. He'd pulled me aside that day, his eyes twinkling. "Medicine isn't about prestige, Olivia. It's about helping people. Never forget that." The next morning, Dr. Richardson shared more news. Our successful handling of the crisis had attracted attention from major medical research foundations. Grant offers were pouring in, along with partnership proposals from teaching hospitals. "We're not just surviving," he said, grinning. "We're changing the game." I was reviewing the partnership proposals when Sarah appeared again. "Dr. Sterling, the state medical board, just announced a comprehensive audit of all private hospitals in the region. Sterling Memorial is at the top of their list." I thought about my parents, who'd wished I was never born, now watching their carefully controlled medical empire face unprecedented scrutiny. They'd tried to destroy what I'd built, only to find themselves facing questions about their own practices. That night, standing in our rooftop garden, I realized something profound. My parents had seen my inclusive vision as a threat to their legacy. What they hadn't understood was that I wasn't trying to destroy our family's medical heritage. I was trying to save it, to return it to its original purpose, helping people, regardless of their ability to pay. Little did I know, events were already in motion that would force them to confront this truth in the most personal way possible. The call came at 3 a.m., 3 months after our opening. A massive fire had broken out at Sterling Memorial Hospital. Their emergency systems had failed, and they needed to evacuate critical patients immediately. I was already rushing to Sterling Care, when Dr. Richardson called. Their ICU backup generators are failing. They're requesting emergency transfers. Clear all available beds, I ordered. Call in every off-duty staff member. And Richard, contact the burn unit. We might be the only facility in the region equipped to handle severe cases. When I arrived, our emergency department was already transforming. Staff members who'd heard the news were streaming involuntarily, many still in pajamas under their white coats. The same doctors my parents had mocked as second-rate were preparing to save their hospital. Then came the news that made my blood run cold. "Doctor," Sterling, Sarah called out, her face pale. "Your father, he was in the ICU wing when the fire started. He was doing his late-night rounds. They're bringing him here. It's bad." Time seemed to slow down. I remembered all those nights he'd spent doing rounds, his dedication to his patients, the one thing we'd always shared, even when we disagreed on everything else. Minutes later, the ambulance arrived. My father lay unconscious, suffering from severe smoke inhalation and burns. Behind him my mother followed, for once without her perfect composure, mascara streaking her face. "Save him," she whispered, her voice breaking. "Please." I switched into doctor mode immediately. "Get him to burn unit 1. Start high-flow oxygen, prepare for intubation." "Doctor Chen, you're with me." For the next 6 hours, we worked to stabilize my father. I used every innovative treatment protocol Sterling Care had developed, the same protocols my parents had dismissed as experimental. Our state-of-the-art burn unit, funded by those research grants they'd mocked, made the difference between life and death. While my father fought for his life, Sterling Memorial descended into chaos. The fire had exposed serious safety violations. Shortcuts taken to maximize profit. The state medical board launched an immediate investigation. My mother spent those days in our waiting room, watching as Sterling Care efficiently absorbed not just my father, but dozens of critical patients from her hospital. She saw our staff working tirelessly, treating every patient with equal care, regardless of their ability to pay. On the third day, as my father's condition finally stabilized, she approached me in the doctor's lounge. "I've been watching," she said quietly. "Your protocols, your staff, your equipment, everything we said couldn't work, does work. And not just work, it's better than what we've been doing." I continued updating my father's chart, not trusting myself to speak. "The medical board is suspending Sterling Memorial's license pending investigation," she continued. "We're going to lose the hospital." Finally I looked up. "No, we're not. We're going to save it. We Sterling Care can absorb Sterling Memorial. We'll implement our protocols, our inclusive care model, but maintain the emergency care unit your hospital is known for. We'll create something better than either hospital could be alone." Tears formed in her eyes, something I'd never seen before. "Why would you help us? After everything we said, everything we did?" "Because I'm a doctor," I replied simply. "And more importantly, because I'm Thomas Sterling's granddaughter. This isn't about revenge, it's about doing what's right." 2 weeks later, my father was strong enough to join the discussion. From his hospital bed, he listened as I outlined the merger plan. When I finished, he was quiet for a long moment. "You've built something remarkable," he finally said. "Something your grandfather would have been proud of. Something I should have been proud of." The merger was announced the following week. The press called it a revolutionary transformation in private health care. But for me, the real victory came in smaller moments. Watching my mother work alongside Dr. Chen, seeing my father advise young doctors with the patience he'd never shown me, hearing them both embrace the principles I'd fought so hard to implement. 6 months after the fire, we held a grand reopening ceremony for the newly merged Sterling United Medical Center. I stood at the podium, my parents beside me, addressing a crowd of staff, patients and press. "Healthcare isn't a privilege," I declared. "It's a right. Today we're not just reopening a hospital, we're redefining what a hospital can be." Later that evening, I found my mother in the rooftop garden, looking out over the city. "We were wrong," she said softly. "When we said we wished you were never born, we were so terribly wrong. You've not only saved this hospital, you've saved its soul." I joined her at the railing, watching the sunset paint the sky over our hospital. Not my hospital, not their hospital, but our hospital. Sometimes the hardest lessons come from our greatest challenges, and sometimes the people who wish you were never born are the ones who need you most. The end.